finally happened. Back to this hellhole for another round. So, in case you've not heard the news, Hypixel has finally released their long-awaited Foraging update, and I've been playing it for a little while already. And honestly, I found it kind of underwhelming, but still, nonetheless, it's a much-needed improvement over the old skill, and just like everything is a million times better, I cannot even lie. So I'm going to give you a little rundown on some of the new features they've added. So first of all, taking a look at the park, they've reworked that area. So instead of being like one big island with a bunch of little areas like it used to be, now it's 5 different islands, although they are still like one area, so it's all run off of one server. But yeah, again, like 5 different islands, each dedicated to that one wood type. And honestly, if you ask me, it looks a lot nicer that way. They've like also redesigned it overall, like they've made the trees look way prettier, and it's a huge visual improvement as well. But I don't think they've actually changed like the individual mechanics to each area. I think that's all still the same. It was mostly just a visual rework. So cutting down some trees, you'll probably notice they've added some new mechanics related to them. So on a foraging island, you'll be able to throw your axe and you can cut logs from a distance using that. And yeah, it makes it really easy to reach those like logs at the top of the tree where otherwise you need to have like a god potion with jump boost to get to them. And they've also added a new stat, which is sweep. So sweep works a lot similarly to the spread stat in mining, where each extra sweep you have lets you break an extra log, at least on the first island. So if you had 10 sweep, you would break 10 logs at a single time. And the starter axes don't really have much sweep, if they even have any, but the tree capitator, whose ability you'll notice has been removed, has the highest out of all the old axes, that being 25. So you hit a tree and you can break 25 logs at once. It's a great tool for early game foraging because you can chop down basically an entire tree. But you'll notice that throwing your axe only gives you half of that sweep. So if you have 25 sweep and you throw it, you'll only break, I don't know if it's rounded down or rounded up, but it'll be 12 or 13 logs at a single time instead of the original 25. So you'll want to be chopping them by hand when you can, but again, for those up high, like hard to reach logs, you'll probably be wanting to use the axe though. So taking a step away from the axes, there is a new tree chopping mechanic where once you cut down a certain portion of a tree, which I haven't actually checked the numbers, but I think it's around 95%, the whole tree will disappear. And then they also change the way they regenerate, so they regenerate from the trunk up to the sky instead of just instantly reappearing. And then you cannot damage it while it's regenerating, you have to wait till it's like fully regrown. And you'll notice that much more prevalently, both of these features on the new Foraging Island, which speaking of, let's take a trip there right now. So this here is Galatea, which is the new island they added in this update, and looking around there's a lot to take in, so I'll just give you the rundown of this new space. Firstly, there's 2 new tree types, those being fig and mangrove, and they're both a lot harder than those you'll find in the park, and again, I haven't checked the specific numbers here, but I think the fig is about 7 times as hard and the mangrove is 15 times as hard as the trees on the park, which means your sweep will be less effective by that like portion, so it'll be 1/7 as effective on fig trees and 1/15 as effective on mangrove trees. And you'll basically need a tree capitator if you want to start cutting wood here, because I think even there's a like bare minimum where you have to have at least 7 sweep to break a fig tree and at least 15 sweep to break a mangrove tree. So tree chopping here is more advanced as well, so each of those 2 new trees have a specific style where you need to chop it in that style to get the full benefit of your sweep, otherwise it'll be halved again and you'll be breaking basically nothing. So for the fig trees, you need to start from the bottom, the trunk, and break it up to the branches, whereas the mangrove trees are the opposite. You want to start at the branches and break it all the way down, ending with the roots. So once you chop down a tree, you'll notice they give you gifts when chopped. You'll get a tree gift, and these gifts, they have a lot of useful things, those being mainly foraging XP, Heart of the Forest XP, and Tree Whispers, which we'll get into later. But aside from that, you can also get these foraging boosters, which I've heard there's 5 of them. In fact, I've read that there's 5 of them, but I've only actually gotten 3 so far, those being the Wisdom, Fortune, and Sweet boosters. They can be applied to any of the new foraging gear. Now, speaking of the new gear, there is 2 new axes, 2 new sets of armor, and a new set of equipment. So, as far as armor goes, first you have Glade armor, which you can get basically as soon as you get to Galatea. I think it's either 50,000 or 100,000 apiece, I can't remember. But it's available to you literally like immediately, so it is the best starter foraging armor, no doubt. After that, you can make fig armor using fig stones, and the fig stones are basically the like double enchanted version of fig logs. So 160 fig logs makes an enchanted fig log, and then 160 enchanted fig logs makes a fig stone. That is currently the best foraging armor you can get. I've only got 1 piece so far, but that's what we'll be working on later. And then, as I've stated before, you'll want to get a lot of sweet before you even start working on mangrove trees, otherwise you'll be basically chopping them down one log by log. But once you can start chopping them down, you'll be able to make a new mangrove equipment set, which, as far as I know, is the only foraging equipment that's currently in the game, and if not, it is definitely the best. They've also added a whole new skill called hunting, so I haven't done too much hunting-wise because I think it's extremely boring and not very helpful. Like, it's a nice little buff, but nothing worth focusing on. But the gist is that there's a whole bunch of new creatures on Galatea, and you can catch them using specific methods per creature. And there's also a pocket black hole, which you can use to catch like hostile monsters once they get below 10% health. And that's not just for Galatea, although there is a couple on there that you can catch, but that applies to creatures from other islands as well. So whenever you hunt something, you'll receive its shard, which you can siphon to level up an attribute, and the attributes are the main bonus, or you can also fuse the shards into other shards at a machine on Galatea right here. But they've reworked the attribute system from the Crimson Isle, so personally I've never experienced it. This is just what I've heard, is that there was a similar system on Crimson Isle, and they've now reworked that to match what's on Galatea. So you can collect the attributes off your old Crimson Isle gear at, there's this guy right next to that fusing machine that you can talk to, but yeah. And as I said, most of those attributes you get from siphoning the shards seem like more or less useless, like maybe a couple specific use cases, or they're just not very important. But there is a couple major ones, like my favorite so far has been the Fanflare attribute, which at max level gives you 100 extra fig and mangrove fortune. And so, last but not least, they've added the Heart of the Forest, which is pretty much identical to the Heart of the Mountain, but all of the perks and the way you level it up is with foraging instead. So, in fact, some of the perks are even identical to the Heart of the Mountain ones, like I think it's called the Lottery perk, is the same as the Sky Mall perk from the Heart of the Mountain. It gives you like a random bonus each day, and then that changes each day, but they're pretty good actually. Anyhow. So Agatha, she is a new NPC, and she has daily competitions, which are kind of similar to the Jacob's contest, where doing a specific task will get you points. And now I say specific task, there is a list of them, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's things like hunting or chopping down trees. So getting certain numbers of points puts you into a corresponding rewards bracket, so you have common at 10, uncommon at 100, rare at 500, epic at 1000, and legendary at 1500. And the rewards for these contests, as I've said, you can get Heart of the Forest XP, you can get Forest Whispers, Foraging Experience, Agatha tickets, and I think there's one other reward, but I can't remember it. And then also, if you're at Epic or Legendary, you can get a Starland prize, which is useful in getting any of the endgame rewards. And Agatha also has a shop where you can spend her tickets. It's kind of like the Anita shop with Jacob's contest, but yeah, with foraging focused instead. And also, for the first 3 Agatha competitions you do each day, you will get a 1200 Heart of the Forest XP bonus, which is what I was getting at when I said it's similar to commissions from the Heart of the Mountain. But yeah, that's the rundown of all of the new features. Again, there's specifics that I haven't gone into. I'll leave you guys to figure that out for yourself if you ever play the game. But yeah, so now that you know what's up, we can finally get to the actual video. Alright, so first order of business, let's see here, is to cut down like a shit ton of these fig trees, because this is one thing that I think they did really well with this island, is that everything you do is kind of interconnected. So Obviously, as far as end goals go, I need to hit Agatha level 5. Oh my god, these phantoms are like really annoying. But I have not found I cannot figure out what in the sounds makes them go, so I might just turn master volume down to like 10%, and then you just won't be able to hear anything I do. God, you can still hear them. But yeah, like I said, everything you do on this island is kind of like interconnected, so by cutting down the fig logs, there is a couple things that I hope to accomplish. So the first thing would obviously be the perk on the axe, which is every 10,000 logs you cut on Galatea, you get 1 sweep. Hopefully we can max that out. We can also do these Agatha contests to get Heart of the Forest XP. So not only are we progressing towards Agatha Milestone 5, but we're also progressing our tree. And we even get Forest Whispers from that. And I'm getting the rest of my fig armor. So that's like pretty much everything at once. And then even after that, if I still don't have I won't have HOTF 7, I probably won't have the axe maxed out. But either way, after that, when I go start doing the mangrove trees, it's the same thing. I'll be doing the Agatha's contests, I'll be getting Heart of the Forest XP, I'll be doing all of that. So I won't really start doing one thing I hate about most of these Skyblock islands is that once you get really end game, it's like you're grinding for one specific thing, and you're grinding that one specific thing forever. But that won't start until I've already maxed out all of the mangrove gear, all of the fig armor. And I'm sure then I'll start to change my opinions on how fun this island is, but so far I'm really liking it. But as far as doing these contests go, just a word of advice to anybody watching this, I found 2 really good spots to farm fig trees. So when you do the contests, you want to be focusing on the little ones that you can break down really quickly, because you get 3 points for every 100 fig logs cut, or maybe it's fig wood collected, I can't remember. But you get 10 points for every tree you cut down, so if you cut down the small ones, you can just get tons and tons of points that way. And there's 2 good areas for that. One being this island here with the big stone tower thing on it. You can just walk around the outside, and then there's one small tree that grows up on top of that cliff there, and if you get all those, you can just infinitely loop that. The other good area is right here, so if you spawn in there on the island, if you just take a left here, you'll end up in this area here. There's 6 or 7 little trees there, and then just every once in a while swing out here, collect these couple, and both of those are pretty much infinite loops where you can just guaranteed get legendary every single time. And now that the update's been out for a little while, it seems like people have figured that out because they're basically always populated, but I'll see what I can work with here, and I guess we'll just be farming the hell out of these contests, man. Alrighty guys, it has been a minute since I recorded that last segment. But I figured, just for the time being, I'd take a quick little break from foraging, and we're gonna go look at some stuff really quick. You may remember, in the last video, I ended up buying a Midas sword, which cost about $50 million, well, it cost me a whole lot more, but, as you may know, the more money you spend on it, the better it gets. Now, actually, pretty much, I think it was just a little bit before I got that, they added an update to where you could upgrade the Midas sword. And when you upgrade it, it lets you spend $250 million to max it out and makes it a whole lot stronger. Now, I have not been sitting idly and just twiddling my thumbs, as I've been waiting probably over a year at this point to get this video done. But, yeah, I've got it fully maxed out just about. There's only one thing I'm missing, which is the Gilded Reforge, which you get from a Midas Jewel, which has a 1% chance of dropping from the King Midas enemy that spawns in the boss rooms in the dungeons. That's basically all that I'm missing as far as things I can get right now. As you can see, we have all the enchantments on it, at least everything I can afford, even Champion 10. We've got a fully Fuming Potato booked. I've also gone ahead and gotten full Frozen Blaze armor. This has been done all pretty much by the minions, as I've been doing absolutely nothing. And I have a legendary blaze pet at level 96, and with this, if we go to the dungeon hub, now a lot of this has been extremely tedious and boring, so I haven't bothered recording any of it, but we have been doing some F6 runs, actually. In my co-op, we have been clearing F6. Obviously this was with random people, but me and my co-op as well. And we are actively working towards a few different goals in that department. One of those being getting, obviously, a Hyperion, because that's just such a huge weapon that everybody has to have. But also just getting through it, because, you know, that's one of the biggest areas of Hypixel. Getting Wither Armor as well. I believe Necron is what it's called. I'm a little bit rusty on Skyblock knowledge. But aside from that, let me show you here. Let me show you the other thing I had going on the back burner, which is, if we go into the basement with Addicts, I could have just used the phone, but we are Zombie Slayer 7 and Wolf Slayer 7. As a matter of fact, I've been doing a bunch of these. I'm actually almost level 8, and we have been doing that for a couple different reasons. First of all, I have a Reaper mask. That took a minute to get, but I got super lucky with the Beheaded Horror drop, so I went ahead and farmed out all the stuff for this. Aside from that, I still need another stack of Revenant Viscera because I want to go and the Wand of Atonement. I currently do have the Wand of Restoration, but the Wand of Atonement, the 60, that's not. I already have that. Just those Visceras, which are much easier to farm off the tier 7 or tier 5 than the tier 4. And the reason we need that is because obviously it heals for significantly more HP a second, and the more healing you have, the better. That's part of what's so good about this Reaper mask is compared to Mender Crown. This gives you 100 mending of vitality while in dungeon. This doubles your mending of vitality, which is the same effect because you have 100 base, so it effectively does the same thing. But also, aside from that, I don't remember what it is. There's other ways to increase your vitality, even though I don't think I've, just have 100 and 100. Hypothetically speaking, I could get more. It also gives you significantly more effective HP, so it's got 908 health and 476 defense in dungeons, whereas this has a little bit more health, but a lot less defense. Significantly worse than that. And with all of this, I think the only thing I'm currently waiting on is a summoning ring out of floor 6. And then I just need to hit Cattle level 24 so we can start doing F7 runs, which I probably will be recording because that's likely going to be a shit show. There's one other thing, which is Enderman Slayers. Obviously, those are a huge thing in Skyblock. You gotta kill like 800 tier 1, so you can finally be able to kill a tier 3. And you want the short bow. You have to get to Enderman Slayer level 6, no, 5. It's 7 for the... This is pretty significant, as well as the Terminator you get after it. Those are all long-term goals, but I want to go ahead and get the farming done for this Midas Jewel, just so I can finally be done with it and actually say that this... So, let's get started on that, and I will see you guys in a bit. Alright, and after that one, my patience is about worn thin. I think I've killed probably a good 10 or 15 of them, something like that, yeah. So, with that little detour over for now, I think it's time we turn our attention back to what really matters, which is, of course, the foraging. But one thing that's nice, at least the silver lining of this very obnoxious and tedious farming process, is that I'm getting loads of dragon fragments, which obviously is not super important nowadays. I mean, I am well past the point of needing any unstable dragon armor, but it at least, I've obviously been stashing them up here. I can almost make a full set of holy dragon armor. Actually, I may be able to. Obviously, the superiors are always a nice thing. Young dragon armor, we're way off. But I can still use that to fill up my museum, which is rather important for things like the bank upgrades and whatnot. So, it's not all for nothing. But let's go ahead and get back to the forging. Alright, and just like that, we have enough fig stones for the helmet. I got my microphone at a weird angle here. So we go ahead and leave the recipe something like this. Boom. Now we are halfway done, except not really, because the shirt and the leggings cost like, what is it, 14 fig stone total, something like that, 13. Whatever it is. Alright, well, let's get back to mining trees. Alright, so we are finished with our fig armor, and I went ahead and took the liberty of buying some of these forest pledge books, putting those on, and also mining up some mangrove trees because, yeah, you can make this mangrove gem. It takes about a stack and 32 or something like that, a stack and 16 logs, and it puts the groovy reforge, which is just a little bit of extra foraging fortune. But with that, we are damn near maxed. Currently, we are rocking with 534 foraging fortune, as well as like 100 fig and 100 mangrove. Now, we're not done quite yet. There's just a couple more things we have to do in the tree cutting department before we're finished. Those being the mangrove vine, which is like nothing. Oh, enchanted sea loomies, though. Those are going to be a pain, and some stretching sticks. Mangrove vine and the mangrove grippers, which is 6 main cores. Now that's going to take a while. Now about these sea loomies, let me go back to the island and show you something. The next plan for after we're finished with all this tree cutting is getting involved in hunting. Now I've already gotten all these sea loomies for the fishing net. This took me a solid 2 hours probably to farm. They are a huge pain. The only advice there is, even to make it go a little faster, is just to collect all the beery shards, which can kind of just happen as you're farming these. But where you're clearly going to need, what was it, about 2 for the one thing and 4 for the other one? No, it was 1 for the one and 6 for the other one, so 7 total. We need to farm out those last couple using this snorkeling armor, and then we just have a whole lot of mangrove trees to get down. And I can't remember if you get stretching sticks from the mangrove or not. I may have to do a little bit of fig tree mining because I haven't been holding on to many of my stretching sticks. But yeah, for the things, you just run around down here, you find the sea pickles, you break them, and you get like 1 to 4 at a time, depending how many there are. I'm gonna get double that because I have the shards maxed out, but there's no fortune, there's no faster way to farm this. You just have to brute force it, and it's a huge pain. So let me get this done, let me get mining those trees. I'll spare you all the pain of another time lapse, and we'll see you then. Okay, so I did just wrap up with the, well, I don't have the full stack that I need, but I know I have a couple extras sitting around at my island, so I'll just go grab those. I did just find something interesting, though. Apparently there is a mythic bracket in these Agatha contests once you reach 5,000 points. I just barely made that before it ended. But we are going to find out. It looks like it doesn't give much more compared to Legendary, aside from maybe some extra coupons. But yeah, if I go over to... Actually, I don't even think I've touched on the Heart of the Forest ever since I first mentioned it. But yeah, we are almost tier 6, but I don't think there's anything here that I really care about, aside from potentially the center of the forest. But I don't know if I can even make that. We'll have to see. Anyways, let me go grab those other stretching sticks, and then there's one other thing I wanted to do as well before we wrapped up with this mangrove farming. Yeah, I have these in there, and I'll just take 2 of those. I'm saving those for the on tags, but we can worry about that at a later date. Alright, so my inventory is a bit of a mess, but I did buy another set of these Forest Pledge 3 books, so we can go ahead and get these up to level 4. Just give me an extra 2 foraging fortune apiece, but don't have anything else to spend these Agatha coupons on. Let me actually get out I only have 2 of them. That's probably not enough. That should work. But yeah, we're getting these enchanted up. After that, I then have these first impression books for the axe, which, as far as I'm aware, is the best that you can get. I know there's a missile book, and I have suspicions that it might work well with a certain perk in the heart of the forest, but we're not there yet, so we're sticking with first impression. Now, unfortunately, I already put a level 3 book on there. Oh, I can just barely afford it off of one Titanic. That's fortunate. But yeah, there's that. And now we just have... I need to get a couple more of those books off of her. I guess 8 more, because I need to combine those. And with these tickets, we might be pretty close on that. Not quite. We need another... like stack or 2. We'll just chuck these. My storage is a mess. I'll just chuck them in here for now. But yep, let's get back to the fig farming. No, mangrove farming. No, actually, let's not. I just had another thought that I wanted to look at. This is the first time that I've actually been foraging for just a specific item, those being the stretching sticks. So all of these fig stones I actually have, at least currently, no use for. So I was doing it for about 20 minutes, and I made $900,000 off of fig stones, which means my theoretical average is about $2.5 to $2.7 million an hour, which is not very good. I mean, I'm making about 10 million an hour off of netherwort, and it's a lot easier, and I can just watch YouTube or something while I'm doing that. So don't think we'll be busting this out anytime soon for money, although maybe when they release the next update that could change. We'll have to see. Yep. As far as mangrove farming goes, this is no, not here. It is the northwest wetlands, I believe. Over here? No. Let's see. No, it's the south wetlands. Now, there's already a guy over here, but he doesn't look like he's... maybe he's figured it out. This area, and then also, to some extent, that westbound area, are both pretty good for farming mangrove trees because there's lots of them in a close area, and they're all relatively small. So if you ever need to farm mangroves, this is my suggestion. But let's get to it. Alrighty, and that grind is finally done. We have all 6 main cores, the stack of logs, and then the 7 thingamabobs. I didn't get out the stretching sticks though. So I believe for the one thing, it was something like this. Mangrove vine. And then the mangrove grippers. Now, those aren't a very huge boost, honestly. It's going to be microscopic in terms of how much we actually get from it. But there's one other thing we can do. Let me find it first. I believe it's over here. Go over to this anvil, and we can put on right now... What do I have here? Yep, wisdom boosters and sweet boosters. I think I went over this before, but you can put them on basically all the pieces of equipment, including these ones here. And then we buy 2 foraging boosters as well. I'm gonna go ahead and slap these on. Okay, we got these nice and upgraded. Let's put that on. And we now have 220 sweeps, 600 foraging fortune, 114 fig, and 156 mangrove fortune. So we are in pretty good standing. What does our foraging wisdom look like as well? 58.1. We're level 39. So we've come a long way, guys. We are officially done with the full set of foraging gear. Alrighty guys, we may be done with our gear here for the time being, till we can get it all recommed and all of that, but we are still far from done with this foraging island, because as I mentioned prior, we still have, I'm only level 5 out of level 7 on this heart of the forest. I did at least get our center of the forest up to level 4, but I think level 5, getting that extra 75 Skyblock XP, not too sure about that, but what I do know is this forest strength is going to be quite good once it's maxed out, as well as this forest speed eventually. We also have this forest essence shop here, which I don't think has anything too good on it. I have the lumberjack perk leveled up a little bit, as well as the forest training, but none of this is particularly good. And last but not least, if we go down here, we have, first of all, we have an unclaimed contest, but we have the Agatha milestones, which we can unlock some extra XP, some extra stuff like that. But the more important part is the items in Agatha's shop, because, and some of you may know already, alrighty, I kind of forgot, you actually do need the upgraded diving armor to actually make it down to the place, but there is a Jade Dragon at the bottom of this lake, from whom you can buy the Jade Dragon pet, which requires a shiniest, which is an item you can buy once you're milestone either level 4 or 5 from her, and you need like 500 million coins and 100 fig stones and 100 man cores. So obviously that's not something I'm going to be going for today, but it will be a long-term goal just for me to work on in my free time. Anyways, with all of our work here being done, there is one other aspect of this update to explore, which is hunting. And now I planned on making a hunting segment of this video, but honestly it is so much just tedium and so much grinding that I'm not ready for. Particularly, there's like a fishing net you can get, which requires you to do countless hours of fishing, and if there's one thing I hate more than this game, it's the fishing part of this game. So that will be definitely being put on the back burner. There is just one shard I want to max out, which thankfully I can do just with this basic fishing net. And if we scroll, well, I don't know why I'm saying scroll. If we swim down here, we might be able to find one, we might not be able to. There's these huge turtles right there, and I'm not wearing my swimming, no I am. But they drop a shard, I believe I already talked about it. It gives you, no I definitely didn't. It gives you knockback resistance. If you max out the attribute, you get full immunity to knockback, which is the same effect as a dwarf turtle shellmet. Because another one of my current goals is to finally clear an F7. I've had a lot of dungeons going on the back burner because, quite frankly, I think it's boring. I don't think it's worth mentioning at all, as long as I show off the gear that I've gotten stuff. F7s, on the other hand, are a little bit more exciting because the drops from that, as well as just the dungeon itself, unlocks a lot of doors. The dungeon itself is interesting enough to make a video about, and getting a Hyperion is obviously a huge part of the game that unlocks so much. So before I sign off this video, there's one thing that I want to do, and that is to actually lay out my goals on some sort of list. And actually, this is a perfect time to take all that foraging stuff to put it to the test, because I need some sort of wood to build out of this. I could just go buy it, but this is more fun. Give it one chop at the base of the tree, and because I have 163 sweep on here, almost the entire tree disappears and fills my inventory with spruce logs, and that is more than I could possibly need. So, like I said, at the stage we are at, I honestly never thought I'd get this far when I started this series. But the stage we're at now, it's getting kind of hard to keep track of things. Like, I mean, we've got dungeons, we've got foraging, there's mining that I haven't even touched in years at this point, there's slayers. There is just a whole slew of things that need done at some point or another, and it's not going to let me go to my island for whatever dumb reason. Maybe if I switch servers. Alright, well, I'll just keep rambling here. But yeah, we've got a lot of goals. For example, two things that I've had on the back burner are an Overflux Power Orb from the Sven Packmaster and a Wand of Atonement from the Revenant Horror. Now, as a matter of fact, I've already got the Wand of Restoration. I also dropped this Reaper Mask. It's been quite useful. I haven't had any time to show it off yet, but as far as Void Glooms go, that's been quite a handy tool. I'll definitely get into that in the next video. But Overflux Power Orb, which can later be turned into a Plasma Flux, which is pretty important. Again, the Wand of Atonement, just for that healing capabilities. As far as Void Gloom itself, we obviously eventually need to get a Juju and then a Terminator for more efficient F7 clears if I ever actually want to do that. Although, I don't think the Terminator is going to be strictly necessary. And Again, I always have farming stuff going on in the background. When I say farming, I mean the garden itself. I have full, like, reconned half mossy farming stuff and a... Is it at 10 billion or 1 billion? I think it's... Oh no, 100 million. I got a little full of myself there. But yeah, 100 million counter on the Newton Netherward hoe. That thing's been a huge asset. And yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of hard to keep track of and kind of hard to put into a video. And that's most of the reason why I haven't been recording so much, is just because there's so much to do. However, I think if we go... Okay, no, we'll get rid of that. Give me a minute here. Alright, just repeat that on this side. A little bit of framing. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of different categories. We have Slayer, Dungeons. Somebody just walked in the door and the dogs are freaking out. But we got Slayers, Dungeons, Farming, which will mostly be off camera, Foraging, Mining, Fishing, and we'll just put Other. And I am going to fill these in with goals, and I think the idea is that every time I upload a video from here on out, I just want to focus on maybe 2 or 3 goals off this board and try to get them knocked out. And then at the end, like I'm doing now, we can fill it in with some new ones that we want to work towards. That way, hopefully everything is a little easier to follow and a lot easier to do. Alrighty, so I've gone ahead and filled it out. Under Slayer, we want to get an Overflux Orb, a Wand of Atonement, and eventually a Juju Shortbow for now. Dungeons, we want to get our Blaze Armor up to 5 stars, because currently it's only 3 and 4 stars. We also want to get that Midas Jewel I was talking about earlier in this episode, reforge this. For farming, this again will mostly be done off camera. I want to get Fermento Boots, mostly just so I can donate this to the museum, because I need museum progress for bank upgrades. I mean, I'm carrying 6 million coins in my purse right now because it's full. Foraging, oh no, I didn't mention, I also want to hit level 60, and I want to try to get a billion counter on the hoe, which there's really no other way to do that than just farm. Under Foraging, I need to get that Abyssal Armor. Well, I don't need to, but I do want to. And I definitely want to max out that Shellwise Shard for that knockback resistance. Under Mining, I want to get the Titanium Drill, just the most basic one, and I also need Gemstones. I didn't explain it, but I need Gemstones for this armor. And for my weapon, I also need to unlock the slots to begin with. Under Fishing, my goal is to let minions do all the work, so I don't have to ever fish. And currently, I don't have any other goals. And down here, I've gone and put my main goal, which currently, that should be a colon, is to complete an F7 run with my co-op, no other person in the party. And I know that's going to take a while. I'm definitely going to have to do some runs with other people to get to that point, but that is the end goal. So, yeah, that's about it. That's all I have for this video. I wanted to try something different here. Typically, I just kind of start recording, do some stuff, stop, and then call it a day. But I decided I would just pick one thing and stick with it, and it has taken me quite a while to get here, but we're finally done. I do plan on going back to that more like episodic type of thing, where I just do a little bit in each area at a time. And that way I can upload a little bit more consistently and not have to worry about these huge like 8-hour grinds for all this stuff. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you think you'd be interested in more videos like this, maybe I do a big farming video. I believe they are supposed to be updating the garden sometime soon. Or maybe you want me to revisit foraging, whatever you want, just let me know. But yeah, it's been fun, and I'm out.